when you saw those sparks, that's where I was cutting through the screws. And like I said earlier, I should have made that 1 3/4 or 2 inches. Whoops, didn't mean to slam that. But there's the box. The lid is nice and everything looks good. Everything's lined up. And now you can see why I didn't put the hinges all the way on with all the screws, because I wanted to make sure that they're going to match up. Now since I'm removing my screws from those holes, I might need to put the screws in a different location for the second try. So in other words, don't use the same hole you used a minute ago. Let's see how these work. These hinges can be finicky. But the objective is to get them where they want to be. Now let's check that out and see how that feels. That's much better. Yeah, that's much better. So now that we know that the hinges are in good places, we can go through and finish putting our screws in all of the holes. We know our hinges are good. It's always that first trial and error, so you don't want to mess up, you know, by putting all of your screws in. As you can see, that's why I only used 2 screw holes, because I was afraid that, you know, there's always the possibility that your hinges might need to be adjusted. And so I didn't want to tear up all the wood. And it worked out good the way I did it. That's the good thing about wood projects. Wood is fairly forgiving. Now let's take a look one more time with all the hinges in. Yep, those look good. I like that. Those are holding in real good. I'm gonna look at the back as I open the door. See how everything looks. Yeah, and everything looks good. Those hinges are good. So now we can start working on our side handles, and we can also put a top handle in here if we'd like. Okay, earlier I introduced a 1/4 inch drill bit and some parachute cord. This is what I'm going to use for the side handles. Okay, so this parachute cord, I have about 10 feet. I'm basically going to cut it right in half. So I'm going to have approximately 2 5-foot pieces. And each one of those is going to get folded in half. I'm going to go ahead and cut these ends off. And this parachute cord measurement is just an estimate. It's not written in stone that it has to be that length. I'm also going to grab a small piece of electrical wire. I'm going to use this to pull the cord through. So what I want to do take my drill, put my 1/4" drill bit in, and I'm going to get ready to hang these side handles. So first thing on these handles, I want to take the cord and get the 2 ends together and just make a very simple overhand knot. Just like that. Nothing fancy. However much overhang you have, or tails you should say, that's kind of the same amount you want to have on the other one. That way your handles will be about the same length. So just a simple overhand knot. Just like so. You see the tails are approximately the same length. Set those aside. From here, we're going to measure. We have 7 inches. So 3.5 is the center. And half of 3.5 is what? What is that? 1 1/4? 2 1/4? Let me see. 1 3/4? Yeah, about 1 3/4. We'll go 1 3/4 from each end. Now I'm going to mark my 1 3/4 line. That's where the hinges, that's where the handles are going to be. Now I need to see how far I want to come down. And let's come down 3 inches. So we'll go right there. And we'll go right there. So those are the spots where I'm going to drill for my handles. Right there. And right there. That's where my handles are going to connect. So we'll do the same thing. We'll come in 1.5 inches. Or excuse me, 1 3/4. Right there. We'll do it from this side, 1 3/4. Make our little lines. Come down 3 inches. Across. Right there. We'll do it here one more time, 3 inches. Right there, and that is where I'm going to drill my holes. As I'm drilling my holes, I want to wiggle the drill bit at an angle a little bit. Kind of drill them good. Turn it around. Okay, so the holes are drilled. Now I want to share with you the technique of how I'm going to tie these handles off inside. The rope is going to come around just like so over the top. It's going to reach through in between, and it's going to go like this. The rope will tighten against itself, and that's what the knot's going to look like inside. Okay, so let me do that one more time. So I have the piece, the part with the loop. The part with the loop is going to go on top of the other part. I'm going to reach through, pull the loop through, and go around the tail with it. Pull the tail through and then just tighten everything up. It's very similar to a bowline. But before I can do that, I gotta pull the cord through. So I'm gonna use this little fishing wire. Stick it through, find my cord. This part's a little difficult sometimes because the 1/4-inch holes are not always large enough to pull this parachute cord through. There. I've got that one through. Now I'll turn the box around. Go in. Here. Pull through. Reach in. Go here and pull this one through. Now from here, I'm going to readjust the camera. We'll tie those knots. Okay, so I have the first one. I'm going to go over, just like so. See that? Over. Reach in, pull it, or the loop through, and just go over the knot. Just kind of tighten things up. That's the knot that I'm going to use, and then I'm going to pull the excess out, and that excess is going to be our handles back here. So let me turn the box around and do the other side. Pull these in. The loop goes on top of the other one. I reach through and I pull the loop through, and the loop goes around and this pulls outward. Pull this tight. Doesn't have to be tight, just snug. And then from there, pull from the outside like so. And you want your knot to be basically in the center of the holes. Doesn't have to be too crazy, but that's the simplest way to tie those handles. And so now, when you grab the box, you have these handles coming out the side like so. They hang free. They're not heavy, and it's parachute cord. This cord is 550 cord. Very, very strong cord. It takes 550 pounds. In fact, one length of this cord will hold 550 pounds. So those handles are more than strong enough for this box. Now it's time to find our center hasp. We're going to install this hasp on the front of the box. It has screws already included with it. So I'm just going to grab these screws and I'm going to set them down. I don't need my drill bit anymore. So I'm going to put my Phillips bit back in my drill. Oops. Turn my clutch back on. And from here, I want to take one screw, put it in the center hole, but I want to line the center hole up with this line. And I'm going to put one screw in. Looks like I got my clutch adjusted too weak. Okay, there we go. That's what it's going to look like. This piece, be careful, because this piece can fall out and get lost. So make sure you stick that through. Take this piece, put it down, get your thing where it looks good, and if you have a handle or anything kind of hard that you can use to strike this, that'll basically mark where it goes for it. Sometimes anyway. Open it up, take a screw, and from here put one screw in. not all four, and check to see if it fits. Look, it didn't fit, so I'm gonna have to adjust. Take that screw out, find a different hole, make your adjustment. See, the thing was a little bit low, so I'm gonna have to come up a little bit. There's my marks right there, I think. Come here. Go in with your second hole and check it. There we go. Now we're doing good. That's perfect. Once you got that established, put your other screws in, all of them. Be careful not to strip the screw holes. Use your clutch if you have one on your drill. Now, if you remember earlier when I was talking about the material list of all the things that you need, I mentioned a small carabiner. That goes right there. So that's basically what the front hasp looks like. Carabiner holds it shut. Okay, now we're ready to add more strength to our box. So we're going to do what I call glue welding. I'm basically going to need my torpedo level and my glue. If you have those small clamps, this is the time where you'll need them. These guys, these little ones. Okay, so basically what you want to do is you want to take your lid, put a mild clamp on it. Doesn't have to be anything crazy, just something to hold it like so. You want to take your level, and for the most part you want your box to be fairly level. Okay? In our case, things look good. Now, you take your glue, start from one end, and make a small bead of glue all the way along the seam. From here, as you close your glue, you get any excess glue on your finger. Look for knots in the wood and just stick that extra glue in those knots. Now I'm going to move the camera so you can see what this weld looks like. I'm basically doing this. I'm running a bead of glue down the box like that. Something else that I've learned over time that helps with these glue welds, because they take time to dry, is if you can do 2 of them at once, that helps tremendously. So in our case, I'm going to open the box like this. I'm going to clamp it along the side. And just lay it like that. That way I can do this bottom area as well. But again, I can't stress this enough. Make sure that your box is level before you walk away and let that glue dry. Because if you leave and this thing's not 100% level, you'll come back and all your glue will be up on one side. So make sure it's level. A lot of people have told me over time, they've said, man, why do you waste your time doing this? Well, to me it's not a waste of time at all, because the result of what these glue welds do is they add tons of strength to your box. And that's a good thing for me. I like to take a small toothpick. I'm going to adjust the camera a bit. And I like to run the toothpick down in the glue while it's wet. And what this does is this will get rid of any air bubbles that you might have in the glue. From there, I'll leave it alone and I'll just let it sit and let it dry. Yes, it's a time-consuming process. Yes, it's definitely a big patience thing. But really, all honesty, the results are amazing. This will make a very, very strong box. So let's look inside. See, I have some glue welds down there. Just like that. So now I'm just going to let it sit there. I'll come back in about, gosh, I don't know, 45 minutes. And I'll check on my glue. But again, I'm going to reiterate, make sure that you check this thing before you leave it. Make sure it's level. Because if it's not, you'll come back to a hump of glue. Things look good. We'll see you guys in a few. One thing that I like to do to help make these glue welds dry faster is put my fan in an area where it can blow towards the box. So I'm going to set the fan like this. It's basically going to blow onto the glue welds. So it's set up just like this. So I have fan blowing. This will help dry it much quicker. Okay, I'm back. The glue welds have had a little bit of time with the fan on them. And so now I'm going to move the fan. And I'm going to establish some glue welds on the other side of the box. So what I like to do, and these glue welds are not dry 100%. They're just dry to the touch. They're just dry enough where I can move the box around. They're nowhere near being finished drying. But they are enough where I can flip the box over and do 2 more welds. So I'm just basically going to flip the box over. Looks like it's staying pretty still there. I'll go ahead and put a clamp on just for good measure. Let me see, where am I going to put it? Guess I'll clamp it like right here or something, just to keep it nice and stable. Again, I'm going to use my level to check, make sure everything looks good. Sometimes you might have to adjust the box to get it nice and level. Things look good. So let's go ahead and establish another glue weld. There's one. again, the excess, just put it in those knots. That'll hold them together. Use your toothpick. Get the air bubbles out. And what we'll do is we'll come put our fan back on, and we'll let this sit for, I don't know, half an hour or something like that. So I'm going to grab my fan, excuse me. And kick that fan on and let those sit for a while. The fan's been going for a while, but I came out and I switched it to this new position. So I'm going to let it run a little bit longer. The glue welds are almost dry enough where I can move the box. So when that happens, I'll come back out and check on it. Okay, let me stop this fan. Move it out of the way. And we'll take a look and see how our glue welds are looking. Yeah, things are looking nice in there. Things are looking real good. The top lid here looks really well, looks really good. How's this other one look? Looks nice. Okay, so I have those 4 lengthwise glue welds going. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I don't want to do these bottom ones yet until these are completely dry. Otherwise the glue will go down inside and they'll get heavy on the bottoms. So what I'm gonna do now is, notice this hole back here. I'm gonna work on fixing that. So I'm basically gonna close the lid and I'm gonna set the box upside down. And that'll be just fine, because it'll give the glue welds a chance to dry. I'm going to take a small screwdriver here and I'm going to pry out the bad parts of this. So basically I'm going to encourage any breaking that's going to happen to go ahead and happen. It's kind of like a controlled break here. Part of the reason I'm doing this is because I want to have good material that I can get my glue to attach to. That looks pretty good like that. The next thing I want to do is I want to take my tape measure and measure the approximate diameter of the actual hole. Looks like it's about 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to go find me a scrap piece of wood that's about that size and stick it in the hole. Okay, I found a little scrap piece of plywood. I actually cut it. This is what we're going to use to plug that hole. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside the box. I'm going to find the hole down there. And I'm going to take some of this masking tape. I'm just going to cover the hole. That's all I'm going to do from the inside of the box. This masking tape is old, so it doesn't want to come off very good. So bear with me. Bear with me as I bear with this tape. I guess I should probably go down to my local hardware store, pick up some new masking tape. Put one more little piece on there. So that's what I've done. Where is it? Can't even tell. It's right there. I've went in there and I've taped the hole shut from the inside. Now let's go ahead and close this box again. Put it face down. And we're going to take that little piece that I cut, put some glue all around it, and then I'm going to just drop it in the hole. So we want it to be nice and gluey. So we're like that. We're just going to drop it down in there. Take something flat and something fairly hard. Just tap it down in there. Doesn't matter if it's sticking out a little bit, because we're going to sand a little bit. So now I'm going to take some more of my sawdust, my little pan, and I'm going to make some filler. But this filler is going to be a little bit more glue than sawdust. It's going to have, the mix is going to be a little bit thicker on the glue side than the sawdust side. I'm going through this sawdust because it had a bunch of little bigger pieces in it, so I'm just getting rid of those bigger pieces. Now I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to make a pretty wet mixture. It's going to be mostly glue. And this is the mixture that I'm going to use to fill that hole. Notice how quick it soaked all that up. It's kind of a gunky kind of filler. I might have to make some more. It doesn't look like this made that much, but I'm just sticking it down in the hole, and I'm using this little screwdriver to just kind of push it into the areas where it needs to go. Just kind of forcing it down in there. Pushing it down in there. And I'm just forcing it down in there. Let me get some more sawdust and I'll make a little bit more. I really thought that that would be enough, but There was more than I thought. These bigger chunks I'm just pulling out. And this mixture is a little bit dry. I need to add a little more glue. When you're filling big holes like this, you want more glue than sawdust in your mixture. You want it to be a very wet, and that's a very good look at it. You're basically gonna just push it down in there, and you want it to get there's a reason that when I cut that piece of filler that I made it smaller than the actual hole, and that was because I wanted area around it so that I could pack this putty in. So we're just going to be very, give it plenty. Don't spare it at all. Give it as much as it will take. Use your screwdriver to kind of push it down in there. Don't be conservative with it. Use every bit of it. If it'll take it all, you give it all. Now, something you can do if you have an old piece of wood sitting around, something like this, you can just get this and just kind of push it and kind of smear it in, just like so. Now we're going to let that sit just like that, and it's going to dry. Let it sit about 20 or 30 minutes. And just like before, to help it dry a little bit faster, I'm going to go ahead and put the fan down. This will help speed up the drying process of this glue. Okay, let's take a look and see what we have here. Yep, everything looks good and dry. I'm going to go ahead and start sanding a little bit. Put my earplugs on. So there you have it. It's nice and smooth. Looks good. Let's go ahead and look at the inside and see what the inside looks like. I'm going to change my camera a little bit. Bear with me. Let's take a look at the inside. Okay, the inside didn't change. I'm just going to pull the tape up. You can see that it's still wet on the inside, and that's okay. It's kind of what I expected. So now I'm going to just let the box sit like this. I'm going to put the fan on it from the inside, and I'm going to let that dry right down there. So when we come back, we will be looking at that nice and dry. Looks like there's an air bubble. So I'm going to take my toothpick and try to get into there a little bit. It's still wet on the inside because I had the tape on it. I'm just trying to push it in there a little bit. Now if you wanted to, you could just leave it alone like that and let it dry and it'd be just fine. So in either case, you know, but I'm gonna put the fan on it, and I'm gonna let it dry for a little while. So we'll see you in a few. Okay, I just got back and I've done these high and low glue welds. Now I'm going to start doing these side ones. So I'm basically going to let the box tilt like this, and I'm going to put glue welds on these ones. So let me get my clamps going. I think something like that would be just about right, but I need to open this a little bit more. Open the lid, that is. So from here, I want this to be a little higher. Let me find something a little higher to prop this up so it'll be a little higher, because I don't want it too low, otherwise the wood will, or excuse me, the glue will not flow right. So on the lid here, you don't need to put a lot of glue, just a tiny bit. Doesn't have to be much. When I get to the edge of the wood, I like to, like right here, I like to stop about 1/4 of an inch short of the edge. So I'm going to take my little toothpick, just kind of make sure there's no air pockets or anything. And there's not, and whatever excess is on the toothpick, of course I'll put it into the knots. That'll hold the knots into place a little bit better. And from here I'm going to go ahead and set my fan back up, and I'll let that glue well dry. So bear with me. So it's just like that. So I'll basically come back in a half an hour or so. I'll take a look at those welds and see how they're doing. Okay, let's take a look here. Look like things are going well. Now we'll flip this baby over, and I'll leave this overhanging a little bit, just like so, and I'll do this bottom one. So I'll clamp on here. Just let it sit just like that. Looks like I'm going to need some counterweight, so I'll put this other clamp over here and maybe it'll give it enough weight to stay level. Nope, not enough. Let me see if I can put it here possibly. I just need to add a little bit of counterweight. There we go. That's enough. Now let me see how level we are. Looks like it doesn't want to cooperate too well. And we're looking good as far as level. So I'm going to basically do this bottom one. I'm also going to put a little bit of glue here. Get the old toothpick out. Everything's looking good. And back to the fan for some more drying. So and we'll see you in another 30 minutes or so. Well, this fan has sat here for a few hours, so this glue has had a very good chance to dry. So now I'd like to take a look and see how my box looks. So I'm looking inside at all the glue welds. Everything looks pretty good. Looks like things dried very well. Let me set this camera back down. At this point, we're just about ready to put a finish on that box. So I'm going to go ahead and take this box, take the clamps off. I'm going to set the box down, put the clamps away. And remember earlier in the video when I was showing the material list, I had these two little sticks. This is where they go into play. I'm going to set them down on the bench, and what they're going to do is they're just basically going to separate the bottom of the box from the workbench itself. So I'm looking at the bottom, making sure everything's clean. I'm going to take this rag, make sure it's not your favorite rag in the world, and I'm just going to wipe the box down to get rid of any extra sawdust that might be on it. Just kind of wiping it down, making sure everything's clean, dry. I want to make sure everything looks good. From here, I'm going to take my earplugs just very briefly. And if you have a pencil with an eraser, it would be a good time to erase these pencil marks. So I'm going to go get an eraser and I'll be back to erase these pencil marks. Okay, I'm back. I had to do a little bit of combination of erasing and sanding. And for the most part, I got rid of most of the marks. There's one little mark here that's left. again, my box is just about ready to go. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take whatever your plan is for your finish. I mean, whether it's paint, whether it's, you know, whatever you're planning on. It looks like we're to the point where we're ready to do that. In our case today, I'm just going to do a light wood stain on it. That's all I'm going to do. Some of the other boxes that I've done, I've painted them. But the one today, like I said, I'm just going to use a little bit of wood stain. I built a box one time and I was kind of experimenting with different kinds of finishes. And one time I used just regular old used car oil from an oil change, and that actually made a really nice finish. The oil soaked into the wood real well, and it looked nice. So I'm just dipping my rag in here, and I'm just rubbing this stain all over the box. This is going to give it a very pretty finish. And again, make sure that whatever rag you choose, that's not your favorite rag in the world, because you're going to ruin it. The stain is pretty unforgiving. Really looks nice on the box though. Something that you might be interested in doing is if you wanted to moisten your rag here before you dip it in to the stain. That works good too sometimes. I'm just cutting those loose ends off so I can get down into the stain a little bit better. So I'm just putting a good little layer of stain. Give it a good coating. This is going to give the box a very nice look. You can also, like I said earlier, you can also paint. If you'd rather paint it, or if you'd rather, you know, whatever choice of finish you want, this is the point in time where you could do that. And like I said, a lot of my boxes, sometimes I paint them, sometimes I varnish them, sometimes I just leave them raw. The example that I gave earlier about the old car engine oil, that actually looked really nice, and it gave it like a, it gave the box kind of like a I don't know, it stunk when I did it, but after it dried, you know, after a day or two of letting it dry, it actually turned out really nice. And I might even give you a little shot of what that looks like in this video. I'll just give you a little shot of that box and let you take a look. That way you can kind of see what it might look like if you choose that option before you do it, you know. Give you something to look at so you have a reference point to go by. When you're rubbing this stain out, try to go with the grain of the wood if possible. This is a good option because painting sometimes takes a lot of time, where staining is a lot quicker generally. You know, painting is a lot more involved. I mean, I've had boxes where I painted them, and when I paint, I don't mess around. I'll cheat. I'll get like a big old roller like I'm going to paint the house, you know, and I'll just go 1, 2. It works pretty good. I know it sounds silly, but it does work pretty good. I kind of cheat. I'm not Picasso by any means. This is starting to look really pretty. Beautiful finish. I did a box one time where I didn't have these little squares underneath it. I actually had some pipe laying around, some old 3/4 inch metal conduit pipe that I used. And it worked good, except the box was rolling back and forth. So try to make sure you got something square down here. Helps a lot. From that aspect anyway. Don't worry about your paracord. If it gets a little stain on it, it's black paracord anyway. It's not going to hurt the handles at all. If you were going to paint, you might take the handles off and paint and then put them back on. You know, just to save the handles from getting anything. And you can put as many layers of this stain on the box as you want. If you want just one layer, that's fine. If you want, you know, the finish is up to you. Whatever you want to make your box look like. I'm just sharing with you, you know, how to build the thing. Finishing options are pretty much whatever you want to do. Whatever kind of look you're looking for. I don't go inside the box at all. I just do the outside. Basically, I'm just going to squeeze this rag a little bit. Yeah, if I would have been smart, I would have put my latex gloves on first, but I just wasn't thinking. When I paint, I usually do that. So there we have it. The box has a good stain layer on it. I'm just going to go through at this point with this rag. I'm not going to use any more, you know, unless I find a spot that really needs it. But I'm just going through, making sure I didn't miss any areas, making sure that everything is covered. And that's the cool thing about doing projects like this is, you know, you are your own quality control. So if something gets past you, you just go look in the mirror. I'm not too particular, you know. I don't get too excited about one thing or the other, but so there you have it. This rag I'm going to set aside. I'm going to go ahead and close this up, and I'm going to put the fan on it. And what you could do is you could come back and stain it again after it's had a little bit of time to dry. Or you could just leave it like that, and once it dries it'll lighten up its color a little bit. So like I say, the finishing options are whatever you choose. So I'm just going to put the fan on it, let it blow. And that's a closer look of it. Looks very pretty. While I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna go get that other box that I used the engine oil on, and I'll bring it in and I'll show you what it looked like. Okay everybody, now I'd like to share with you some finish options that you can look at. This is a box that I made for my daughter, and it's, you know, I put a little top handle on it so she can pick it up. I put the hinges inside and the back. She's got like a little safety clasp on the front. She puts all her her little Nintendo DS games in there, you know, so that's one option. You can see around the lid where the glue, excuse me, not the glue, but where we actually painted the inside of the lid. We found out on this box that that wasn't a real good option because it made, you know, it kind of had problems with making the lid stick. But this box was, I don't know, we built this one a long time ago. Turned out great. So that's one option. Another option was this one. I actually made this as a piggy bank. I have a little hole in the top, and on the bottom this little door opens. Take this little door off and you can get inside. But I'm mainly showing you these so you can see the finishes on them. So that's another color, you know. I made this one for a friend of mine. Put a custom paint job on it. There was a deal. I wrote her name. I wrote the date that I made it, and I wrote my initials. There was a deal on Facebook where the people had to, like the first 5 people to comment on the status, she would make something for, and you had to make something for her. So this was a box that I built for her. I did all the glue welds and everything on it. Just haven't sent it to her. It's been a few years. I keep in touch. She's an old high school friend. I keep in touch with her, and they've been moving. You know, her and her husband and her sister. They went to Texas, and anyway, I'm gonna be sending that soon. Here's an ammunition box that I made a long time ago. I've been using this one for a long time. I actually have 2 of these that are matching. One is for all of my center fire stuff, and this one's all my rim fire stuff. So, you know, I've got 1022 mags in here. I've got the BX25 mag for my 1022 speed loaders. I've got, you know, my 17 HMR ammo, you know, but it holds quite a bit. I'll get the camera and I'll kind of come give you a closer look at some of the stuff that you can fit in one of these. Quite a bit of stuff. You know, you can fit quite a bit of items in there. And that's basically the same size that I'm showing you how to make in this video. So that's an option. You can tell that I put the handles on the top. That works pretty good for carrying them around. But the reason I kind of stopped doing that and started going to the side handles is because I like to stack them. So if you're not going to stack them, these top handles are a good option. But I like to stack mine. This is another box that I made for my daughter. I routed her initials in it. She put her stickers on it. Excuse me. This is a good little box. She has all her little toys and stuff in there. I don't even know what she's got in here. It's like dolls and doll clothes and stuff. But it holds quite a bit of stuff. I used to do my hinges a little different. I don't know if you can tell, but these hinges, I used to lay them into the wood here. I used to get the wood and I'd cut little grooves out and I'd lay the hinges in that way. Like somebody's shirt. Anyway, she's got her little, look at the hair, bad hair day. Put her in the box and she's gonna have a bad hair day. Anyway, I think that's funny. But that's an option. This is one of the stackable type ammo boxes that I made just recently. This one's haven't even been used too much, and I probably, you know, to be quite honest, I kind of do like the top handle option. This one is the one that I was talking about where I used the engine oil. This one's a little larger. This one has, I used a little bit thicker rope, you know, for the side handles. I basically got that rope, I do a little bit of rock climbing from time to time, and I picked up that rope at one of my rock climbing places. And this one I use out, I basically set it down and I keep a laptop on top of it, and I keep some of my computer junk inside. But in this one, you can see all the glue welds and how I used to lay my hinges in. I used to cut them down in the bottom of the box. I used to take a chisel and everything. I did that because I like to have the option of putting a little padlock here. You know, because once you lock them, you can't get to the hinges in the back. So that's another idea to think about. I routed the bottom with the date that I made it. March of 2010. So that's another option. Got all these boxes. And last but not least, I have this big one. This is a big box that I made. You can see I have two closures on the front. I have a big top carry handle. This is a real heavy duty type handle. Doesn't have any side pieces. Not routed or anything. But inside of here I keep a lot of miscellaneous computer parts. Sometimes I work on computers as a hobby. So I keep a lot of that stuff in here. But you know, could you imagine having an ammo box that big? The amount of stuff you could put in that. But anyway, I just thought I would share some of the options that are at our disposal. And again, just a reminder, this is the box that we built today. You might put that top handle on there. It does make a good option, but like I said, if you plan on stacking them, that's why I left that top handle off, because you know, now they're stackable. And I really like that, because if I'm storing ammunition over a period of time, it's in the closet or something, I like to stack these. So you know, these handles do work good, but I guess you kind of got to decide if you want to stack them or not, and take that into consideration when you're building your box. Anyway, I hope you have good luck on your box. I appreciate you watching my video. Please feel free to subscribe, feel free to leave comments, and have a good day, everybody. Thanks again for watching. Bye bye now. Okay, everybody, one more thing that I wanted to share with you while I'm talking about finishes. I made this cutting board out of poplar and oak. So I've routed, you know, this edge. This edge here is basically for cutting your vegetables and things like that. And this other edge, I put I don't know if you can see it very well, but I routed a groove all the way around it. And this groove is a blood groove. This is the side for cutting meat. And I routed in some initials. You know, you have the blood groove. This is a mix. Like I said, this is the lighter colors are poplar and the darker is red oak. And I wanted to share with you the finish. That's what I really wanted to talk about. This finish is very simple. It's just vegetable oil, just your standard household vegetable cooking oil. So that's what it looks like against poplar and red oak. So if you compare it, you know, to the ammunition box finish, it just to show you another option that you have. So I'm going to go ahead and come back here in a few minutes, because this box is for a friend of mine, and that person just told me that they want a handle on the top. So here in a minute I'm going to show you how to hang a handle the way I like to put them on these boxes, so in case you don't know how to do that. Okay, I'm back, and I'm going to share with you the process of what I use to hang these handles. Now if you're looking for these handles, you can find them at your local hardware store. In fact, they don't just call them handles, they call them cabinet pulls. Like you're going to pull something, cabinet pull, you'll find them in the cabinet section. So that's where I get those. I have 2 screws. These are number 8 by 32 thread, 1 inch long. And these screws basically thread into the bottom of these cabinet pulls. Okay, so you got 2 screws that you're going to need. You're also going to need, I recommend that you have 2 fender washers, and I like to use the big ones because they distribute the weight on the wood a lot better than if you use something small. So I like these big old fender washers. And make sure that the hole in the center is small enough that the screw doesn't, you know, go through. Okay, I'm going to recommend a 3/16 drill bit. You're going to need a Phillips bit. I'm going to use my little impact wrench for my Phillips bit. And I'm going to go ahead and put the drill bit into my drill. Hopefully I have enough battery juice. This thing's about to die. So, first thing is first, I'm going to set all this stuff aside. Obviously you're going to need your pencil to mark things, and you're going to need your tape measure. Let me set my drills aside. So what I want to do first is I want to measure the full length of the box, 20 inches. And I'm going to make a mark right in the middle at 10 inches. Okay, hope you can see that. Also, what I want to do is I want to take a measurement of the depth of the box, which is 7 inches. So half of 7 would be 3.5 inches. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to mark 3.5 inch mark. And I'm basically going to make a little mark in the center of the box. I hope you can see that. See my little mark there? That's the exact center of the box. From here, I'm going to take my cabinet pull, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see better. I'm going to set my cabinet pull directly over that center mark. Okay? Now I'm going to get my pencil and I'm going to lay the cabinet pull over, and I'm going to look at how far the holes for the screws are in comparison to the center here. So I'm just going to give it a little guesstimate, and I'm going to mark where I think the holes should be. I'll give you another close-up shot here. So you see I have one mark right here, and I have another mark right here. See that? So now I'm going to go ahead and take my cabinet pull, and I'm going to hold it over those marks, and I'm going to look right under here, like kind of at this angle. I'm trying to look to see if those holes look like they're going to line up, and they do. So once I believe that those holes are correct, I'm going to go ahead and drill my 2 holes. If you have any kind of like, say for example, if you have any wood that got exposed, don't worry about it too much, because the cabinet pulls are going to be hiding that exposure. Looks like I have a little piece of sawdust that drifted into that knot there. So from here, I'm basically going to take my 2 screws with my fender washers and put them together like so. I'm just going to open the box and get rid of the sawdust. Shove them through nice and easy. Close the box and look and see if they meet up. And they should meet up. I'm holding the cabinet pull on the back side, and I'm twisting the screws to get them started. Now don't do the full screw. I mean, don't tighten one side all the way down until you get both of them started. Once you get them started, then it's time to tighten them up. There's one. And this impact wrench works great for that. So now we have our handle installed, and that's it's literally that simple. So again, we'll take one more quick look at the box. That's our completed ammunition storage box. And again, I know I said it earlier, but I want to say thank you guys for having your interest in my channel and in my videos. I appreciate all the support. I hope you found this video useful. Hope you found some good information here. And again, thanks for watching. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye. This little piece of wood is 3 inches wide. And after this box is complete and finished, that's all the wood that I had left out of that 8-foot section. The reason I chose 19 inches is because I knew after I would sand that this would be a 20-inch box. Plus I knew that that would leave me this much leeway in case I made some mistakes. Okay, let's take a look inside and get an idea of what kind of storage this thing will hold. I'm going to pull these out and give you a rough estimate as to how much ammo is in this box. These are all 223 rounds. So there's 100, 200, 300. There's 400 rounds just right there, and I'm not even halfway through. In this bag, I don't know how many's in there, but I'm guessing that's 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 500, 600. There's 200 in here. 800. These are packs of 50. There's 900. There's 1,000. There's 2 more. That's what, 1,100? 1,200. There's 20. These are 30-06s. There's 20. And then a few 06s that I had laying in there. But that's just an idea of the amount that you can hold in one of these boxes. Quite a bit.